From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5:30, streaming now.
Now at 5:30, a shield from harm. The local business coming up with a way to help employers safely return workers to the office in the age of coronavirus. Chris.
Topping our lineup, a critical issue is making it difficult to protect the most vulnerable from coronavirus. What the government said about the shortage of PPE in nursing homes and the action that could correct it. And some schools are turning to outdoor classrooms to keep kids safe, how it's also helping their mental health in these challenging times. And the number of people dealing with hair loss during the pandemic is growing. What experts say is causing it, and what you can do to prevent it.
First at 5:30, right now, many people continue to work from home due to COVID-19. But as companies look to the new year to possibly return more people back to the workplace, the local business will be behind the new look for many office spaces in this age of COVID. WRTV's Rafael Sanchez gives us a preview of what the office of the future could look like.
In less than a minute, the design destined to help is produced with laser precision.
It protects people from themselves as well as people from others.
These are known as Relo Shield stackers. They're mounted on existing cubicles to provide extra height, extra social distancing between people who work in offices. The shield even comes with a see-through pane to allow people to visually communicate when necessary. This is the brainchild of Melissa St. John.
The majority of employees are still very fearful to return.
Her company, Relocation Strategies, has spent the past several months helping businesses figure out ways to reconfigure workspaces to allow people to return to work where possible.
I thought I need to come up with something that's temporary, affordable, and that can be recycled when you're done, and it doesn't damage the furniture.
I've not been to my desk at WRTV now for several months. I get to work from home. But this setup here is meant to be another layer of security for those returning to their workplace.
We all know that people wear masks, but we all know that people do the little cheat and they pull it down over their nose. And so if I'm like uber scared and I'm in my area and I see somebody through there, at least there's separation between us.
A look at what may pop up in your workplace or school. A measure of separation to help people from getting sick.
Working for you, Rafael Sanchez, WRTV.
Working with a number of businesses and government groups to update their office spaces. Kevin.
Amanda, a little bit earlier, remember we couldn't see Lucas Oil Stadium because of the low cloud cover. Now I see Lucas Oil Stadium. Not surprisingly, the roof is closed. Nothing going on there anyway. The drizzle, light showers, mist across central Indiana, and we are locked in the 40s. 45 in Lafayette, 2 degrees cooler than that. That's your cool spot right now up in Peru. Miami County, only 43 degrees. Zoom into the metro area where we've had this drizzle and mist recently. Temperatures 48 as you go a little bit south on I-65 toward Edinburgh. Okay, the very light showers early this evening, they're hard to shake. I think we'll hold on to the cloud cover and temperatures won't change a whole lot as we go forward. We're going to be maybe low to mid 40s in most locations, just depending on whether we see any breaks in the cloud cover. There's the spotty nature to any of the showers. All the little patches of green represent some of the showers. Just want to point this out, with more rain in the forecast, especially Thursday, our Storm Shield app. Sometimes you think it's just for severe weather, but it's helpful anytime we've got rain in the forecast. Puts you in control of the radar, and anytime we would have any kind of watches or warnings, then they're sent right to your phone. Temperatures warmer tomorrow. We'll take a one-day celebration as we get to 58 for the high. It doesn't last, though. We'll talk about why coming up.
I have some updates on some possible treatments for COVID-19 to start the news feed. Eli Lilly says it is still backing its potential treatment after research shows it did not help hospitalized patients. The company is now seeing how it impacts patients who are not in the hospital. With a week until the election, Facebook will stop accepting new political ads. It's all in an effort to try and stop misinformation from spreading. It is important to note that the ads already on the site will keep running to the election. A judge says the federal government cannot defend President Trump in a lawsuit brought by a woman who says that he sexually assaulted her in the 90s. The Justice Department tried to represent the president. The judge says this case is not related to his job with the government. More people enrolling in the trial for the possible vaccine frontrunner. Pfizer said today that it has 42,000 volunteers. Most have received both doses of the vaccine. Now, the original goal was 30,000. These additional participants include a more diverse group and children.
I mean, I think we should all do whatever we're able to for other people right about now, and if any information that they can get from me can help, like, get a vaccine out sooner and help everyone out there, I feel like I can do it.
Pfizer is the first to test a COVID vaccine on adolescents in the U.S. Cincinnati Children's Hospital is one of 5 sites enrolling 12 to 17-year-olds. Doctors say they've had enough safety data based on adults to now include the younger people.
And then you can compare that immune level from the adults to the immune level you're getting in adolescents. And if you're getting the same level in adolescents, then you can make the assumption that if it protects in adults, it's going to protect in the adolescents too.
The children received the same dose as adults. They're on a planned safety pause this week before they start enrolling more kids. Dr. Robert Frank says so far in adults, the vaccine is producing a stronger antibody response. Dr. Frank says vaccinating children can provide community protection.
To me, was really heartening is that people talk about, everybody's so self-centered and things like that, is that these kids really were thinking about, obviously, themselves. I mean, but their main driver was trying to make it so society could get back to normal again.
Pfizer is looking to enroll hundreds more children ages 12 and older. You can find the information on their website. All right, next in our lineup, a critical issue is making it difficult to protect the most vulnerable from coronavirus. What the government said about the shortage of PPE in nursing homes and the action that could correct it. It turns out baby boomers are dealing with the most student debt of any generation, and most of it comes from Parent Plus loans that they actually took out to help their children. This is according to Fidelity's annual snapshot of student debt. When it comes to 2020, student debt overall has increased slightly. People working in healthcare are paying the highest monthly payments at about $800. Nursing homes and long-term care facilities need more PPE than they did at the start of the pandemic.
If a home doesn't have at least a week's worth, that's a problem. It's regarded as a critical shortage. And the reason why is because, one, if you have an outbreak, you can start chewing through your existing supplies like that.
U.S. Public Interest Research Group looked at data from facilities that was sent to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, and they found 1 in 5 were dangerously low on 1 or more items like gloves or hand sanitizer, and almost half didn't have 1 week's supply of at least one type of PPE.
And they say that it's not unusual at all for nurses to use masks for like 5 days. If they even have gowns, they're reusing them.
U.S. PIRG says that these facilities couldn't compete with demand for supply. The Medical Supply Transparency and Delivery Act is sitting in Congress. The goal would be to help stabilize prices. The Defense Production Act would be used to increase U.S. production of PPE.
And not only does it affect the residents that are in that home, it affects the workers who, guess what? They go home. They go home to their families. They go home to their grocery stores and to their churches, and their kids go to school. And so it's no surprise that this is why we're seeing some of these community outbreaks, because of one case that starts in a nursing home.
The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid said the data was accurate. U.S. PIRG says that they were referred to FEMA for a solution plan. FEMA's not responded yet. Well, more in our lineup. Some schools are turning to outdoor classrooms to keep kids safe, how it's also helping their mental health in these challenging times. Amazon is hiring 100,000 seasonal employees to work during the holiday season. That is almost twice as many as it hired in 2018. Employees will be responsible for packing and shipping orders at warehouses in the U.S. and Canada. States like California, Texas, Maryland, Georgia, and New Jersey have the biggest need for employees. YouTube is trying to make sure voters are getting the truth. So, if you search for information related to the election, there will be a panel that shows up showing a link to the latest tally of the 2020 vote, and it will also have a note that says that the results on the platform that you see, quote, may not be final. Hertz does not want any excuses as to why people can't make it to the polls, so the company is offering a free extra rental day November 2nd and 3rd when someone reserves a car for 2 days to make sure people have a ride to vote. Well, the popularity of bicycles has skyrocketed during the pandemic. Some big box stores and even those online have been sold out. But bicycle nonprofits are stepping in to fill the void. And as Maya Rodriguez tells us, it's also creating crucial job opportunities and filling a need in communities.
Inside this bicycle repair shop, it's a cacophony of sounds, where both the bicycles and employees get a chance they may not have otherwise.
Working with your hands is still very important.
Keith Jackson is the operations manager at Gearing Up Bicycles. The Washington, D.C. nonprofit trains black teens about everything it takes to run a bike shop.
For a lot of the young black youth, this is really their only opportunity to get their feet wet in the bicycle business.
Hello, this is Daquan from Gearing Up Bicycles. How can I assist you today?
It's an opportunity Daquan Medley knows firsthand.
Yeah, because I've been here for a long time now.
Medley started coming to Gearing Up Bicycles several years ago, eventually working his way up to youth shop manager. Quite a journey for someone who didn't take to bicycling right away.
I couldn't ride at first.
But he eventually picked it up and now envisions a future full of bicycles.
I would still have like a full service bike shop, but then try to also have programs within it to actually still be able to teach people and help them be able to learn how to maintain their bike on their own.
It's an inspiration drawn from this nonprofit, which helps young people build their own bicycles to keep and teaches them how to fix donated bikes, which otherwise may have ended up in a landfill.
Our main goal, obviously, is workforce development, but I hope they get a sense of confidence and empowerment that they can do any job once they leave here.
The repaired bicycles are then resold during Saturday sales, which have grown increasingly popular during the pandemic's global bicycle shortage. As seen in this video, Gearing Up Bicycles shared with us of a recent Saturday sale.
You know, our general sales are up 60%. Our bicycle sales are up 330% over last year.
The money from the sales then goes back into the nonprofit, though they say there's always room for more.
As a nonprofit, we need people to come in and support us in that way.
In order to keep these wheels and lives in motion.
We've got them.
In Washington, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
A beloved member of the Bartholomew County Sheriff's Office is back at work after recovering from injuries. Canine Officer Bravo is back at work following 2 surgeries to repair torn ACLs in his right and left knees. The injuries were sustained on the job. Bravo is partnered with Deputy Leah Burton. The sheriff is 1/3 of the department's Canine unit. Sheriff Matt Myers says he has been instrumental in finding and keeping illegal drugs out of the community since his service began in September of last year. Welcome back, Bravo.
Dual focus in the weather world, radar and the temperatures. Let me show you the national temperatures for a second. And you can see that cold air all the way down into Texas. It is 40 in Dallas. Temperature was in the teens. Remember, yesterday in Denver, they've made a nice recovery at 41. That dividing line between the very cold air and the milder temperatures in the southeast U.S., the dividing line marks the area where we have rain and even some snow in portions of Oklahoma, and then you get up into Vermont and New Hampshire. But you see the stream of moisture from Oklahoma and Texas all the way northeast across the Hoosier State and into the Great Lakes. Temperatures, they're not going to change a whole lot. They'll stay in the 40s this evening and mainly overnight in the low to mid 40s. If we see some breaks in the cloud cover, it might be a little cooler than that. But the coldest temperatures are yet to come as far as overnight lows. That'll happen early next week. Tomorrow, let's celebrate it if it happens. We may see a break or two in the cloud cover. 58 for the high, temporarily, briefly, but gloriously warmer. Then on Thursday, windy, wet, 48, the high temperature. Even though we dry out and get some sun back, you're at 50 as we get to Friday. Temperatures as we go hourly during the day on Wednesday, starting in the low 40s, 50 at noon, afternoon high temperature of 58. Just want to show you part of the recipe for Thursday's weather will be the strong wind out of the northeast. That will keep our temperatures in the 40s. That's what we expect. Basically rain from start to finish through the day on Thursday. Thursday. We'll have more as to how much during the 6 o'clock news.
COVID cases spiking across the country are forcing schools to return to virtual learning. But Chris Conti shows us how one school is keeping in-person learning safe by moving their classes outdoors.
It is easy out here to forget. A momentary escape from a year where beauty has often been hard to come by.
Last one out closes the door.
For students at James Faulkner Elementary, the walk to school this year looks a little different.
This is 80 and 30.
Like teachers across the country, anxiety was filling the inside of Jackie Cornwell's mind all summer.
Am I done? What did I forget?
So she decided to roll the dice and move her lessons outside.
We do know that COVID has been a really challenging time for adults and kids.
110?
Every day for 3 hours a day, Jackie Cornwell's 3rd and 4th graders set up their classroom in the woods.
Adding it all together, I got 311 trading cards.
Trading cards.
Away from the confines of their school building, this outdoor classroom has brought a sense of normalcy and safety.
Being outdoors is another layer of protection.
The New Hampshire air is plentiful out here. No concerns about ventilation.
It might seem really easy to you, but this skill is tricky.
Jackie Cornwell has also realized the beauty of Mother Nature's palette has helped foster a better learning environment.
It's really turned something that could have made this year really horrible, sitting in desks, facing forward, not playing with friends, into one of the best years I've had in my 9 years of teaching.
And while these outdoor classrooms are helping keep students safe from COVID, it's also helping with their mental health during some incredibly challenging times.
A speech.
Dozens of states are returning to virtual learning because of spikes in COVID cases.
Okay.
Even out here, removed from the world, Bree Bell worries about being sent home again.
It wasn't normal. I was really I didn't like it too much because at my house we don't have very good internet, so it's hard.
But this 10-year-old and her classmates have taken pride in the outdoor space they've built by hand. They've hung hammocks for reading time, even built a fire pit for the colder months.
It's really nice to finally get to take our mask off and chill in the woods with some nice fresh air.
While we're here and while we can be together, we're gonna make the best of it.
If COVID has taught these students and teachers anything, it's resiliency.
Hopefully this is the year they'll remember as when they got to learn outside versus this is when they went to school during COVID. And they're happy, really.
In a year like this, a lesson worth remembering.
I feel like they're really having these impactful experiences that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their lives. Does that sound good?
In Stoddard, New Hampshire, I'm Chris Conti.
Awesome.
Let's start the newsfeed. Researchers say ultrasounds could show which COVID patients are at a higher risk of dying. Say it gives them a fuller picture of the signs of heart damage. And a new study is pushing back on the hope for herd immunity. There's a UK study that found that antibodies against the virus fell as people who they were studying recovered from the disease. The concern is that COVID patients do not build immunity, but instead are losing antibodies. New restrictions in New Jersey as cases spike. Newark has put a curfew on non-essential businesses. Part of the city has seen spikes by as much as 25%. Postmates will start delivering purchases from stores. New service will launch in LA and eventually expand into other cities. Postmates will start delivering from boutique stores. These will be contactless deliveries that can be made the day of. All right, finally in our lineup today, the number of people dealing with hair loss during this pandemic is growing. What the experts are saying is causing it and what you can do to prevent it. More people are experiencing hair loss related to the pandemic. A dermatologist tells us before coronavirus, she was seeing 1 or 2 patients a day for shedding. Now they account for about 10 patients a day. That's about half her daily caseload. Now the patients can be broken into 3 categories. Some people are seeing a sudden onset of hair loss. Others have a known disease like psoriasis or alopecia and are now seeing flare-ups. Both of those are attributed to stress. But then there's the patients who have had COVID-19 and are seeing shedding afterwards. That is not necessarily a direct result of the virus. It could be from the toll on the body. Patients who have recovered from other viral diseases have also experienced hair loss afterwards.
So just the process of being sick, having a high fever, not eating well, those can be a shock to your system that can trigger hair shedding.
Hair loss patients who have had COVID will have to work through their own recovery process. Now, for those related to stress, you can try to manage it with things like exercise or meditation.
one sign of stress is hair loss, but there's probably other internal signs that you may not even realize that you're experiencing and things you're putting your body through. So recognizing the stress and doing things to mitigate that is really a very important thing to do at this time.
The American Academy of Dermatology Association says when hair loss is caused by fever or stress, it tends to return to normal on its own in less than a year. Now, if you think your hair loss might be caused by something else, you need to talk to an expert. All right, next year, the U.S. will set another record, this time for the fewest refugees allowed in the country. Tomorrow, we'll look at the impact refugees already in the U.S. say the limit will have on communities.
The radar will turn a lot more colorful as we go later in the week. We'll focus on that day ahead, a very wet one coming up. That's all for the news at 5.